Hello, this is Neil from iPaintGirls.com, and in this lesson I'm going to show how to draw characters interacting together. In this case, it's how to draw two romantic characters kissing, whatever. And it can be quite daunting, to draw characters together at first, but I think with the techniques I'll show, you should be able to nail it down pretty easy. Once you can draw a single character, and from your mind and everything, and do the anatomy and everything, and you're really good at drawing single characters, it shouldn't be too hard for you to draw multiple characters interacting together. Also, just before I get started, I want to let you know that I'm going to do a colored version of this, which you'll be able to find if you go to iPaintGirls.com. It won't be in the gallery for a while, so to see it this Sunday, it'll be as part of the voting incentive. So just vote for my comic book, click on end of all, and then click on vote. It's really easy to do. You just click vote, and that's it. And then you're voted, then you can see the colored version. I start with something very primitive like this to get me going. This is how I work out. I'm going to show you the techniques and what I do in this process to work out how everything works. And so I'm going to pretend that I haven't drawn this before that way. Maybe I should just draw characters from two different characters interacting slightly differently. I don't know. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So first thing I do then is I want to kind of imagine maybe where their heads will be. And so I can kind of draw the two circles together. Now the main thing I want to show, let me go ahead and get this image up really quick because I want to show something here. Make a new layer I can delete really fast. Is the concept is drawing through your character. So to draw this leg here, you would imagine where the other hip is behind her, where her leg starts, and then you would kind of draw that line through the character, and then you would erase what you don't need, what you can't see. That same concept you're going to apply throughout drawing two characters together. That is, you would have your heads, right? Like where you'd kind of draw your heads interacting. And so what you do then is as I'm doing here, I'm going to draw the primitive shape first. Down over here somewhere like that, and I'm drawing right through it. That way I can see what it is I'm like that. So then I would come with her nose and everything, and you'd see her nose and lip, and her eye would be like here, and then his eye and eyebrow and so forth. And so drawing through the characters like that, you'd kind of still want to draw like where his nose would be and so forth, and then you can erase what you don't need. That's why you want to work really lightly at this stage. And you do that throughout the whole thing. You want to draw both characters' bodies as they're interacting. So next I want to do then is I want to kind of imagine the gesture line. Or I want to not imagine, I want to actually draw it. So something like so, right? Let's say kind of like that. Something like that. And then for his gesture line, it might kind of be like that. Let's see here. It's going to be something like that. Now, gesture lines are like S, C curves. Those are gesture lines for when people talk about gesture lines. That's what they're referring to. They're referring to those S curves, C curves, and so forth. And how you can have opposite C's together. That's gesture. Okay, so as I begin to work then, next I want to do is, start with I think what's easiest for me is to start with, the basic shapes that the characters make up. So she's going to be kind of from a side view and almost a little bit from the back. And so I know I want her shoulder covering part of her mouth. So I know that is something I want for sure. And then part of her arm, I know I'm going to want covering him, and then the elbow and that part of the arm will be somewhere up there. So something about like that. Okay, then I know I'm going to be able to see part of that come down. Now before I get too far, and what I want to do is I want to draw the basic shapes here. So kind of do the oval, and then you have this other oval that kind of where the rib cage touches, and so you have your two ovals coming together forming the person, and they kind of come together like that. And then you'd have that part there. So something about like so. That part of the hip would come. You'd have that little part there. That all comes together. And then that part of her leg. And now I have something to work with, so with her at least. Not so much with him yet. Got to think about gravity as the characters are coming together. You know, what's happening with gravity. Gravity be pushing her breast down a little bit, but also he's going to be pressing against it. So I'm going to draw his center line, which is right about there. So I know I'm going to have his, you know, collarbones and his chest and everything. His other chest is going to be smaller because it's going to be kind of going away. That back muscle, and then, you know, I want to draw kind of where his shoulder will be. Kind of do maybe just a line for where I know his arm is going to be coming back over here somewhere, his hand. And the reason I want his arm lower than her breast, because I want that part of her breast to actually be seen. I like the, you know, the way it's smashing and everything. I would actually, you know, I would end up going in with more detail, obviously, with the breast and everything, so that it looks more cool and realistic. At this stage, you know, I'm not actually drawing. I'm just working out how do the characters fit together. Then I will draw over this an actual sketch drawing of the characters. I'm going to get rid of a lot of that just for it's not as prominent. I can see what I'm doing. And I would continue also with him. You know, let's go ahead and draw. Maybe I know you'd have part of his rib cage over here, like that, and then where his rib cage comes in, where all that comes and starts rolling in over here and over there, that's where you'd have the love handle coming off there somewhere. So you'd be able to see part of the love handle, let's say somewhere around here. I know that you'll be able to see, let's say like I'm going to just draw his whole abs together right here, and then the second lower part of his abs, right? So I know his belly button will be hidden behind her and everything. Where his thing comes together, that's where his leg attaches. And so I know he's going to have part of his butt muscle would be like that, and so I can have his leg then. And his other leg would be attaching here. And I'm thinking, let's see here, part of his, you'll be able to see part of his crotch there. Something like that. That would all be in shadow, and all that will end up being shadow too. But you don't want to think about all that yet. You think about your lighting after you work all this out. So notice I'm drawing through the characters. Then when I go back and I sketch over this, it'll be easier for me to see, you know, where everything's supposed to be. And so I'm not worried about so much about anatomy yet and all that. I'm just worried about how do the primitive shapes overlap each other. Then I'll go in, you know, with the refinement sketch and work out anatomy and everything clearly. That way everything makes anatomical sense. That would probably be bigger. So all this starts coming together. Kind of start imagining where some shade is going to be and stuff. You know, this I'm going to be totally changing all this and drawing over it. Again, this is just for I can capture how the characters are working together and overlapping. That's all this stage is for, nothing else. It can be quite difficult to, you know, if it's a weird, this is kind of a difficult pose to work out, so let's see here, don't want her leg to get too big, so let me see how, when legs are stretched, the butt stretches with the legs, so that leg might come down that way. Draw through the character, you might want to extend it, how long it might actually be. I want to have a nice bubble butt, and I know I'm sorry for the women that probably get sick of me, always drawing sexy women or something, but it's just what I do. So someone requested that I do a fat person. They said, I'm having a hard time drawing a fat person. So what do you guys think? Should I draw a fat person? Not that being fat is bad. I'm just asking, should I do a tutorial on how to draw people that are fat, like how the anatomy changes, and where fat and different kind of fat people, so there's different kinds of fat, where fat collects, but fat tends to collect in certain parts of the body. Or that would probably be a little bit lower. The whole chest, I just noticed, needs to be lower like that. And so I can do a tutorial on that, drawing a few fat characters and showing where the fat buildups happen and so forth. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and I might go ahead and do something like that. Now I'm actually starting to just think about where the shadow and light and stuff will be, even though I probably shouldn't even get into that part yet, but it sometimes helps me when I think about that first to start getting in the form and how the characters interact and all that. I don't know why it helps, it just does. Okay, so something like that. And now once I have a sketch like this down, and it's pretty primitive and everything, but it helps me, like I said, get the characters working together and make sure. Now I want to go through and go, okay, well, what is anatomically correct and not correct, and how much over there would I see of that? He'd probably be about there. His other leg would come off, so I might actually be able to see some of his leg back there, depending where his leg is. Is his leg going back over here somewhere? Maybe. Where am I going to cut it? Probably about here. So I'm going to be framing. I started thinking about this kind of stuff. Where probably going to be more like this, because there's different hot spots when you frame a picture. So let's say this is our picture, right? You want to cut a picture like this in the forest, and the hot spots are, or actually, not so much like a window. That is one way you can do it. But anyway, the hot spots are like here, 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 and here. Not really the center so much. And so, sorry about that. I had a cough. I think I'm coming out with bronchitis or something, which I haven't had in many years. So you just want to think about one of those areas. It's really right about this, right about here. You want the focus to be there, 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 or there, usually when you're framing, when you think about how a picture works together. So that's something to keep in mind. So I would probably frame it like this. That way, you think about the hot spot, they're the hot spot. They're right about where I want them to be. Not dead center. They're a little bit over here more in that part of the hot spot, which is a good thing. So, right, and that's pretty much it. That's the things you want to think about. That's how you get character interact. You want to draw through the characters. That's the most important thing when you're drawing characters interacting, is to draw through the characters. So you're basically drawing both characters, as they would be if they weren't interacting, as if they're just doing some strange pose. But then you want to think about gravity and stuff. And then you'd obviously think about shadows. So her arm would all be casting a shadow on him because the light's coming from over here. Her breast all down here would cause a shadow. All this would be in shadow. Think about stuff like that. His leg overlapping her leg might just cause a little bit of shadow, even though, no, probably not, because the light, it's coming down a little bit. It's coming down, so it might leave a little shadow down there. Think about all that kind of stuff. His elbows and be causing a shadow on his body and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it. Is drawing through the character, and then when you draw through the character, you end up with something cool. Right, so thank you for watching, and then after you do that, you work on top of that sketch, work on anatomy and those sorts of things, and then lighting, and eventually get to this stage here. Alright, so please hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this, and let me know what you'd like to see next.